First ship that I joined, I used to cry every night. It was so tough for me. You think you've studied so well, and you go in this very nice, sexy uniform and tell people what to do. Well, it wasn't exactly like that. I joined a ship that used to carry coal between India and Australia, and the first thing that when I was allotted the ship, I was like, yeah, I've already lived all my life in Koila. Again, I'm going to live in Koila, right? So that's, you can imagine how I was feeling. And my first day, ships are made of like huge hole, like a huge rooms, right? And you have a movable cover. uh, and after every carriage, let's say I come from Australia to India. We used to bring coal from Australia to India and mix the coal there here. So if it could happen that a coal carrier suddenly becomes a wheat carrier. So when you do that, you have to actually first, because there are internal structures in which there are coal clinging onto it, so you have to wash it with salt water. Then wheat is an edible stuff, so you have to remove all the rust. And then you have to wash it with fresh water. Then you have to put a layer of paint on it. So a lot of preparation needs to be done. Venture capital, you invest small money, maybe you put 1 million but if the company works properly, you're going to make 100 million out of it, right? So high risk, high reward. And um, these are called different asset class. You can invest in public companies, you can invest in private companies, right? So what we do is, for any company that is brand new in idea, right, a new something that we feel is innovative, and we as a VC, we invest, has a chance of success based on the experiences that I've had, right, or we've had. We'll invest small money into them, right? So not just invest money, but we also, most of the VCs come with little background in how what are the challenges startup face, right? So each sector, if you pick internet, right, somebody is good at internet, he'll only invest in internet companies, right? Early stage internet startup. The idea is you invest money, the companies need money to grow, right? Cold calling, there's cold emailing, and cold LinkedIn message. These are the three ways you can generate lead. Now, cold calling is not scalable, right? Because cold caller, there's a lot that depends on the cold caller, and he can maximum do reach out is like 40 people a day, maximum 40 calls a day, right? And you might have one good caller, but you can't have 20 good cold callers in your team, right? So it becomes it's not very scalable. You have to invest a lot of money in training, hiring, firing, training, hiring, firing again, right? That's one. And the thing with cold emailing, what is on the opposite side is that in cold emailing, you own the domain, right? It's your domain. So if you send more mails, nobody is going to ask you more money. Right? If you want to reach out to 1 million people, if you have the database, go do it. Nobody is going to say like, for 10,000 people, I'm going to charge you 100,000. No. As long as you have database, you can do, and you can hit that twice a day, 5 times a day, whatever the best practices are. Right? That's only with emailing, right?
Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akaal. I'm your host of those Akshay, and welcome to The Origin Show. Knowledge starts here, brought to you by Epic Life SRA. At the outset, thank you so much for your giving love and support and sharing this video to all your family and friends. I request you please give your love and support more so that this video can reach to all the people who wanted to know, who wanted to get the answer in a very simple way. Those who are coming first time, you might be thinking, what is the motive of this origin show? The motive of this show is to get you the answer very simple way, in which we're going to talk to different industry experts and get the answer very simple way. Also, we're going to discuss about the career and opportunity and the future of the business and different things in a very simple way. So please watch the full video. And today we have a guest whose name is Mr. Vikas. Mr. Vikas has a immense knowledge, experience in merchant navy. He also worked as VC, yes, venture capitalist, and now he is running his own business. His company name is Alore Growth OS. Alore Growth has expertise to provide the CRM tools to all the corporate companies in across the globe. So I request you to please watch the full video, and might be this video will help you to set up your own business in different industry or in different cities and get more profit soon. So till then, watch the full video. We'll be come back after a short intro. Welcome to the Origin Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Akshay. Thank you for having me here on your Origin show. I'm very excited to see what I can share and what I can learn from you all.
Yeah, that's great. So first of all, thank you for giving your valuable time. And we are trying to record this podcast, and since last more than 4 weeks, there was something
Yeah,
coming up
probably
in the
4 weeks.
yeah. We are trying to connect and something coming up in between because of personal life, and we need to take care of the business also as well. So before we start, let's dive into your life first, from your schooling days and what's make you to become an entrepreneur. And because everyone believes in like we are from north, so we
Mhm.
believe in to do the jobs and get a salary on time. That's how people
Yeah.
think. That's how people have mentality. You know that 80s, 90s parents have the same mentality to go get a even first get a government job, or you'll get a private good company job and get a salary. So what's make you to become an entrepreneur? First question is this. Second, before we start, wanted to know your life of journey so people can understand that.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is merge both the answers together. So more like a storytelling, and then you can see where, if I've answered the question right or not. So I come from a
Yes.
very small town, erstwhile Bihar, called Dhanbad, mining town. Uh, the first time actually I came out of Dhanbad or Bihar per se is in after 12th standard, right? Very standard curve, wanted to get into engineering I'm 42. So 99 was when I passed 12th. 1999, at that time, there was only two things that you could do. You could either become an engineer or a doctor, and if you didn't do any of that, that means you're pretty much useless. And so yeah, I was trying for IIT, couldn't get into the ranks. So at that time there was TH Chanakya and Merchant Navy, so I joined Merchant Navy, came to Mumbai, studied there, did the college there, and was very happy, right? Because like you said, money, coming from small town, Merchant Navy, even in those days, paid really well. So early days of career, really happy, traveled a lot. And fortunately, since I earned money very soon in life, I also realized that it can make you happy only until a while. And after that, you start looking for newer things. uh, by the time I was 25, 26, I used to sail a lot. I used I was in Merchant Navy for like 7 years, which is like 84 months, and out of that 84 months, 62 months I was on ship, right? So in Merchant Navy, everything is the promotions are very time based. 18 months you become a second, first officer. 24 months you become a third officer and second officer, and also so time based promotion. Whether you do things better or not that good, you'd still be promoted, and that's where my frustration started to creep in. Also, I mean, while I am very process oriented things, it wasn't like I was doing anything new here. I used to be on all tankers, same process, same, everything routine was same. And by 25, 26, I also, that was a time when Google and Facebook and Orkut and Gmail all started coming. Internet started showing the value of it a little bit, right? So I remember I saw internet, I saw Google, and I read a lot, so I was like, wow, the whole knowledge is here. And that's when my frustration mixed with excitement of internet. I started looking at, you know, I'm 25. I need to work for 35 more years, and I don't think I will be happy carrying oil forever. Right? That's what I used to do, like very old, old way of working, orthodox working. While it could give me money, but I was already feeling that there is more life, more beyond money. So at 26, 27, the only way I would be able to do that, change a career shift, which is changing industry, changing geography, and changing position, right? These are the three things that you want to change, and it's very tough to change all three, and I wanted to do all three. The only way I thought I could do is by doing an MBA. So I started preparing for my GMAT, got a good score, got through a lot of US college first round interview round, and they said you only have operational skill. You don't really have any, like nothing related to business, right? Sales you haven't done, marketing you haven't done. So maybe you should go back and learn those skill and come. So I'm normally a rebel. Like I if I go offensive whenever people say anything. So I was like, oh, the best way to do this is then I can start my own company. So I was hell bent. I said I will do one last sailing. I'll earn 20, 30 lakhs money. I'll save all of that, and then I'll come back. And my brother-in-law was with United Colors of Benetton. I was like, if I have to do business, I'll just start a few stores of retail store of UCB. Fashion retail was still booming those days. So I said, okay, I'll go back to Dhanbad, Ranchi and start it. So that was the reason I decided to quit and pursue something apart from merchant navy. So went on last ship. Very sure that I won't be sailing after this, but met few very good folks there. My captain was Raj Sinha, and I was at a dockyard in China. And next to my ship, I also figured out that the captain of that ship was the third officer when I was a cadet. So his name is Sumit. So Sumit and Raj and me, Raj Sinha, Sumit sir and me, we all three got together and we were like, okay, we'll all three start a uh, chain of stores, right? And then slowly we started evaluating. We said we know shipping well, so why are we getting into a new industry where we don't know anything about it, right? And therefore we started our first company, Marine Solution. Marine Solution still exists. Um, you know, uh, at that moment we just started as a shipping services company, providing and managing ships for small time ship owners, right? So we did that for 2 years, learned a lot, but also realized now MBA is really need. I really needed an MBA because it was really raw way of doing business. And fortunately, this was around 2008 time, was a crisis, 2008 crisis, and not many people were getting into MBA. So all those schools who had rejected me, actually, they started calling me back, right? That, hey, what's up? It's been 2 years. Are you still looking for doing MBA? And I was like, no, 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 I'm very happy. This company kind of doing well. And they said, oh, that's even better because now you have a better chance, right? So if you come do MBA. And I kind of like the idea. I was anyway thinking about it. So in 2009, I did my MBA. I went to Europe, Netherlands, Rotterdam School of Management, Erasmus University, did my 1 year program. And there again, if you realize, I mean, most of the thing in my life is like, it's really not so planned, but it just happens. And same way, I that at MBA school, the first competition, normally you have a case competition where you present a business plan. Here, this was very opposite. It's called a venture capital, VCIC. Uh, and in VCIC, actually, you as a student become a VC, and real entrepreneurs will pitch to you, right? And you have to work, say why, what is your investment thesis, and why you did that. So we did that, team of guys, we did that, and that's when I got exposed to venture capital world, and also met a few VCs, alumni from our school who were VCs now. Uh, and I liked the idea. I was an entrepreneur for a while, and I felt, okay, I want to get into the venture capital world. So did some internship, two internship, ended up after MBA joining a venture capital fund, a very early stage company, early stage. So post revenue post R&D pre-revenue, right? So like you have some MVP in place, but no revenue. We would invest in that. So
So what is MGP in that?
MVP is like a minimum viable product. So
Okay.
so you have done your R&D, you've made some small product, you've tested a little bit maybe the hypothesis, but you have not really made a full blown large scale production product, which would reduce, increase your, the economy of scale and therefore margin, or you haven't launched into the market. So we would invest in such kind of companies. I was exposed to clean tech. So what now people call green tech or environment tech. So really early days, 2010, 11 was when I joined this fund, and we would invest in any, like from meat substitute to biogas to solar, um, solar powered, houses or small wind turbine, even cloud computing, because in the end it saves a lot of energy as well. So anything. So we invested in any company that had a product that can make the resources of Earth to consume much better way, right? So 4 years I was there in Amsterdam investing in early stage companies, and after 4 years, was sitting with my managing partner Poonrad, and he was like, India is going to be big. You're an Indian. You're our gateway to India. Why don't you try, doing something in India? Maybe we can do, start a fund in India. So 2013-14 is when I came back here. I did a lot of meetings with very early preliminary meetings, but with, let's say, Mahindra Group, um, Tata, who at 2013-14 was the time heavy investment was done in coal sector, in largely power sector, but coal powered plants. And they had committed already so much that they didn't really see clean tech as a sustainable way or as a business line for them. So, 6 months I was there. We met a lot of, so I used to frequent between Amsterdam, Mumbai, or Delhi. And yeah, I realized that India is still very nascent. The kind of deal flow or the deals that we were getting in India was also very different. As in, it was more, like solar powered bulb or lighting, where there was no innovation, but the innovation in product, but innovation was happening in distribution channel, right? How do you make a 10 rupee solar powered light, all of that? And that was not really where we were good at. We were good at more product innovation. So we said this might not be the right time. So of course they gave me a chance. Like, do we come back to Amsterdam or stay? And I also felt more. My parents were getting older. I had nephews and nieces. I still wasn't married then, but so felt like I need to spend more time because once I left my hometown when I was 15 until 30, I was largely living all alone. So said, okay, want to come back, spend more time with family, uh, and didn't know exactly what I have to do, but I used to read a lot. So the first, I thought I have been a VC, I can definitely go and become an entrepreneur. So first thing that I started was a news reading app, which could read your browser history and recommend stuff that are more relevant to you. Because now internet was very powerful. People had started using mobile phone. The early days of 2G and 3Gs were there. Smart devices had started coming in. So I wanted, like, there's a lot of noise, a lot of content there. So how do you read stuff that is more relevant to you? That was a pain point I was trying to solve. The only way to, so we launched it. We got some early 500,000 funding, funds and friends and family round. But we got some, 1.5 million downloads as well. But it was very difficult to monetize mobile at that time. The only way you can do is through mobile ads, because content has largely become free. No one really wants to pay. Yeah, even newspaper company, when they give it to, these days, to the news to people, is free, right? So no one was ready to pay. The only way you could monetize is through ads. Very early days of ad, people were not really sure of it. So the only, probably we made, like, we spent like 3-4 crores. The money I could make was like 20,000 out of it, right? So had to shut it down. We could realize that, while there is a product market fit, there is no, business fit here. People really like the product, so the next thing that I wanted to, like, just fell in on my platter was more like, because we knew content so well, uh, what people are reading, I could practically read the article and say, this is going to be hit. uh, and that's when, some of my, known contacts who were in FMs, more in cloth, retail brands. They were trying to get into thought leadership and using social media to do their, promotion. I don't know, one of these men's brand, so we were just told, we were just sitting off, one of the evening, and he said, hey, I'm struggling with Facebook, how to use the Facebook to our advantage, and I just gave him some recommendation which kind of worked well for them, right? And then they said, why don't you join, like, like, why don't you I said, no, not really eager to join a, retail company and have no experience, but I can help on content side. So that's how I started a agency, right? So I did one company just more as a consultant, then started production of content as well. It started with blogs and then social media posts, and then went into really wide, right? Even video production and all. So this was from 2015 to 2018. And I realized the agency world, I've never been in an agency world. I, by default, somehow I became an agency. We had good 50, 60 odd people, worked with really good brands, Ford Mustang, W4, and all of it. But that, the creative side of it, I knew the distribution. I never knew the creative side. And I I was making money, but I was really not again happy there, right? It wasn't something I really wanted to do.
Yes, sir.
And while I was doing that, because I didn't come from the agency world, the only way for me to get client was through cold emails, right? And to do one campaign of cold emails, I was using 6 7 different tools. And I really got irritated one day, and I said, okay, let's connect all of it. And because I love data, you would have challenge of data inconsistency. People, one team dependent on another. Nothing was real time. There was a lot of manual work. So I said, okay, we'll make something that connects all of it. And that's how Alore actually came into picture. So 2018-19, we got initial good traction. We did some LTDs. We showed it to some of our existing clients. They bought it. And yeah, that's then I said, okay, agency world is something I don't enjoy. There was many problems, not just with creativity, but also long paying cycle. It's like largely a cash flow business where the more you invest, at one point I was in debt of like a crore almost, personal debt, because I was just funding the one more client, 90 days of payment term. So you pay in advance to mostly in agency world, people, the videographer, the post production guys, all of these guys are freelancing mode. So they'll take the money from you. You fund the whole, let's say the video project is funded by you, and you get paid for it after 90 days. So the bigger we got, the bigger scale of operation we had, and more money needed to be pumped in, right? This was also time of demonetization, GST, and there were a lot of delays. And when I was again in debt of a crore, I said, no, it's not something I want to do that. So, and kind of fitted well with Alore, because that was, so I said, okay, I'm going to shut down the agency business and started Alore. And yeah, 2018-19 we started slowly. By 2021 we 2021 20 yeah 2021 we hit like a million in revenue, in an ARR. And then slowly, like since then, we've been growing. So yeah, long shot. I never planned anything, but once I got into it, I ensured that I gave my 100%. And I don't quit. I have a lot of, personally, I feel I have a lot of mental resilience, and I don't give up easily. I think most, like this change of merchant navy to a SaaS owner has not happened in a planned way. But whenever I decided, I did a lot of little milestones in between, and let's say stepping stones in between. But whenever I decided something, I would always ensure that I'd never give up on it until, yeah, probably until I die kind. So until I find something new out of it, like which might be a pivot, but I wouldn't really stop everything there.
Let's come to the merchant navy side. So how was it? How was the experience in merchant navy? Before going to the further about the CRM part, just want to know how was the experience like as a merchant navy. For example, if a person wanted to become a merchant navy, what are the procedure and what was the experience which you had during that time, so that they can see the real picture how the merchant navy works, and accordingly they can take the decision.
Yeah. So, like again, navy happened, just not that I ever planned. I remember we were taking IIT exam, and one of my friend, I didn't even know what is merchant navy. So one of my friend Ashish Sinha, he knew someone who his relatives were in merchant navy, and he said, oh, it's a very nice paying job. You start with a 1 lakh rupee a month tax free salary. And I'm like, oh wow, that's nice, because the things has changed. I, as a teenager, would study to earn money, right, to get a job, right. Unlike now, when I study, it's for knowledge. At that time, I just wanted to study. I had to study because I wanted a job, right? That's what has been told to us, and I was doing that. So it never mattered. I never looked from angle that hey, if I go into this job, will I really enjoy it or not? I'll get paid. I'll see what happens after that. So that's how I said, okay, I applied. I asked for 500. I remember $500, 500 rupees application fee. And yeah, I somehow filled the form, and I got an admission there, right? And I was very reluctant. I wanted to take IT again, so that next time, I improve my rank and get into IT rather than having lower ranks and doing this. But yeah, I'm going to be very honest. I joined Delhi University for 3 months, and coming from Dhanbad to Delhi University, I was overawed by the lifestyle there. All the fresher parties and the cool joints of Kamla Nagar that you could go and have fun. And I had stopped. I had stopped actually studying for IT. I was just going to college and having fun. So after 3 months, that was a year in which IITs in 2000 introduced a prelim. So there used to be prelim IIT, then you pass it, then you do the mains. And prelim was in November. I probably joined Kirorimal College. I, I joined Kirorimal College in July, did July, August, September. And in November, the exam was there, and I took some test, and reality was I was doing really bad, so I wouldn't even get a rank that I got last time. So yeah, and that time somehow I remember there used to be a Telegram those days. So there were some guys when you enter merchant navy you need to have 6 by 6 eyesight. There were some guys who joined but they didn't have 6 by 6, so they were told to go back, do laser treatment, come back and get a 6 by 6. They couldn't do that, right? So there was some vacant seat, and since I had gotten it, they sent me a telegram. So I took a test of Vidya Mandir classes like a Sunday. I did really bad. And evening I was sitting and my Mamaji, my uncle called and he said, "Hey, this has come again. Do you want to join?" And I said, "Okay, I'm going to join now," because I was really scared. And this is like 99 2000, right? So you're going to get a more if you get into that college, you definitely get out with a lakh rupee a month salary. So why would I leave that, right? So that was a mentality. That was my thought process behind joining merchant navy. I had no zero clue on it. The first ship that I joined. I used to cry every night. It was so tough for me. You think you've studied so well, and you go in this very nice, sexy uniform and tell people what to do. Well, it wasn't exactly like that. I joined a ship that used to carry coal between India and Australia, and the first thing that when I was allotted the ship, I was like, "Yeah, I've already lived all my life in Koila. Again, I'm going to go live in Koila, right?" So that you can imagine how I was feeling. And my first day, ships are made of like huge hole, like a huge rooms, right? And you have a movable, cover. Uh, and after every carriage, let's say I come from Australia to India. We used to bring coal from Australia to India and mix the coal there here. So if it could happen that a coal carrier suddenly becomes a wheat carrier. So when you do that, you have to actually first, because there are, internal structures in which there are coal clinging onto it. So you have to wash it with salt water. Then wheat is an edible stuff, so you have to remove all the rust. And then you have to wash it with fresh water. Then you have to put a layer of, paint on it. So a lot of preparation needs to be done, and we just had 7 days. So join the ship. This is the first assignment. We are going to go to Singapore. The people who have like kind of yeah who have engaged the ship to do this, from I think we had to go to Indonesia and pick some wheat and drop it to no we had to go to Perth to we have to go to Israel to drop it, right? So this is
Okay.
and you have to do all the cleaning. So when you clean with water, of course, the debris fall, and there is a pump at the bottom where that sucks all the water, and the debris remain that, right? But at the suction, there's a lot of coal coming, and the ship is rolling, all of it, right, moving in water, like so. It gets stuck. So my first job, I remember, I went to a pitch dark hold, a huge, 40-meter deep. There's one vertical ladder, pitch dark with a light. There was stinking water in it because a coal releases methane, so you can smell that shit there. And my job was to take the belcha and remove that, right, remove the debris around the sump where the suction is. And I had to do this for like 7 days of my first 7 days, right? So I used to come back in room and would be like really crying. Why? What did I do to my life? Right? This is not what I studied for so hard and so long. And I had to work until like 12 in the night, wake up at 4, 4 o'clock, go to bridge, which is like the cockpit. That's the most exciting part for me. But that happens at 4 in the morning, 4 to 8. I had to do that, and you would probably sleep like 3 4 hours, and very physical work is there, right, on ships.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a it's very tough because not just physically tough. It if you're in middle of a sea and uh, the first thing is it it rolls all the time. Rolls are like the ship keeps moving like this, right?
Yes.
And or can move up and down, and people throw up. So it's also challenging mentally and physically, right? Mental challenge is also because you are like, when I joined the first ship I was 19, and I had to deal and work with people who've been working on ship for 40 years and are 60-year-old now, right? So they know the trick of the trade. You have to learn them. They'll make a lot of time fool out of you. They'll make you do stuff that they have to do, but it's okay with them. They're just bullying you. But you have to get bullied because you want to learn those stuff, because tomorrow you want to be an officer, and then these are the shortcuts that your people, your crew will take, and you should be aware of all those shortcuts are. So merchant navy has a very apprenticeship way of training stuff. So I've done like I said, I've cleaned hold, I've cleaned toilets, I've mopped floors, I've painted stuff,
Okay.
did everything that you had to do, so. And I used to I used to be very pissed off about it, but it's only later on that I realized why that is needed. I had a later on, when my first officer, my chief officer, was leaving after 9 months. I was like, why did you make me do all this painting and all? I can do much better job. And he was like, tomorrow when you have a crew and you tell them that paint this much area, if you don't know, if you have not painted, they'll take 5 days to do the same stuff that you can do in one day. So you better know all of this, right? So they teach you there. And because it's navy, and a lot, because a lot of things to merchant navy has come from navy, right? So they try to make you tough from inside, and by doing this stuff. And also for the fact that let's say you're in the middle of ocean, and you're and your ship is not suddenly stops. You're not going to say that, hey, I'm going to call a technician and they'll fly on a helicopter. Within the limited set of resources that you have and the knowledge you have to make it work. So they
Okay.
teach you that also, that how can the problem solving approach is where they bring that this is what it is, and you have to make it work here, right? You can't really go back and complain that I'll come tomorrow. Well, stay for 10 more days, good, but then you'll finish your food, right? You won't have food, and you better reach on time. So these are things that I by default in most of the merchant navy guys, that they work with small set of people. They're very resilient. If they think the also very time bound, very because you're carrying, like like we used to carry oil, like 300,000 tons of oil, right? So imagine 1 ton, like you're carrying like a 80 million uh, dollars worth of oil with you. Your one action, if you're in the cockpit, in the bridge, and you take one wrong turn, and the ship actually hits another ship or gets grounded, touches the bottom, and leakages happen. Like probably you'll kill a lot of people around that, but you'll also lose $80 million. So at 21, you're handling like $80 million worth of stuff, and your 8 hours of action when you're navigating the ship or control of ship can change a lot of lives, right? If So this is more on the financial side, but you do one mistake, and your ship can, because you're carrying oil, and it's dangerous material, it can explode, right? So because again of your one wrong action, everyone can lose life. So you have you start being responsible and taking decision very early in life in merchant navy. So these are the good part, but the bad part, of course, like I said, it's a very very tough life. And I'm talking about 2001 to when there was no mobile phone, there was no internet. uh, you had satellite phone, but it used to cost like $1 a minute. So many times I would just call like, hey, and hey, blah 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 blah, over. This is what I would have talked to mom, right? So, or mom or my parents. So those things, you were not connected to people. You had to wait like you reach a port, and how things would work is your mom would write, or your girlfriend or your wife would write a mail, or the snail mail, the inland letter, to the company where you're working. They would know the roster of the ship, where the ship would, which port it would next hit, and they would send the bunch of letters there, right? So you don't even know whether you're going to get a letter or not, right? So you're not in touch, like, and you reach a port. The first thing is you want to get a letter, and maybe because of little 1 day delay, it'll come next port, which is too many days from now. So yeah, you get, emotionally, you also become very resilient. Like, you don't need friends to manage your emotion, or your parents. Whatever daily issues you have to talk to yourself and deal with it. So yeah, these are good things, but like I said, it's pretty tough life. It's very unusual way to live life there.
Do you have seen any pirates doing that journey in the
Yeah.
merchant navy?
Yeah,
Can you please share with us?
not as sexy, and all like the Pirates of Caribbean, but I remember twice. Once we were in actually in India. Haldia is a port very close to in Bay of Bengal, very close to Calcutta, and the houses. These are big, huge rope, 80 centimeter. They're very, very expensive rope, because when you reach a port, the ship is tied with the help of those rope, right? So you have 12
Yes, sir.
ropes there, and the paints are very expensive, because these are, the ship is supposed to be rust free, so very expensive paints are used that can save it from rusting and all. So they have come to steal, all these, right? But these are like, really, like, जैसे हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, चोर उचक्का, वैसे they were not really pirates of the Caribbean and all. And also in Malacca Strait, when you go to Singapore, a lot of speedboat come, but largely at that time it used to be these paint thief or houser, the rope thieves, and not really threatening your life, which happened later on 2007-8, when you would cross and go to Suez Canal. Then around Somalia this would happen, but fortunately by that time I had already quit. So small time pirates, yes, seen a few of them.
What is venture capitalist for the people? Please explain them, and how was the experience in that, and what you have learned, so that they can understand in a very simple way.
Yeah. So VCs are basically people who, or maybe let me go one step higher. So um, banks or corporations has spare money, right? So save your money in bank, you put your money in bank. The bank takes that money, makes more money out of you, and saves a little, gives you a little bit of it, right? This is how it works. So now this big, like a million people saving, a million, it becomes suddenly like a, 100 billion cash that bank has. A bank looks for alternative ways to make money out of it. One is like investing in, let's say, infrastructure projects, where they give money and say, you have to, more like a debt, right? You have to pay recurring amount, right? And then there are mutual funds and all these, right? Different ways of doing. One of them, which we call alternative investment, is a venture capital world, right? The thing is, in venture capital, you invest small money. Maybe you put a million, but if the company works properly, you're going to make 100 million out of it, right? So high risk, high reward, and um, these are called asset class, different asset class. You can invest in public companies, you can invest in private companies, right? So what we do is, for any company that is brand new in idea, right? A new something that we feel is innovative, and we as a VC, we invest, has a chance of success based on the experiences that I've had, right? Or we have had. We'll invest small money into them, right? So not just invest money, but we also, most of the VCs come with little background in how startup, what are the challenges startup face, right? So each sector, if you pick internet, right? Somebody is good at internet, he'll only invest in internet companies, right? Early stage internet startup. So idea is you invest money, they need the companies need money to grow, right? Um, because they have no history of doing any business. A bank will never give it a debt, right? Bank is never going to, because they have zero history, right? So you
Yes.
take a bet. Instead of debt, you take a bet that they need money. I feel they do. It's a good idea. They have done some good work. I like the experience of the founder. and therefore I'll give them money because they need money to grow. And if they grow well, of course you manage, you help them, like from hiring to marketing to sales, whatever you can do, become like an extended team. And there are multiple ways to manage stuff as well. You join the board seat and all of that. But the idea is, you when they need money, when he's like a bright student, right, who has no history, right, and he has to go to US to do a study, to study, and he is not getting money from bank because it's expensive. B, his parents are not doing well probably, right? So they can't afford it. So somebody comes as a like an angel and puts money, and therefore they are called angel investors as well, who invest small amount of money. Then when it becomes an angel investor, are more like retail unstructured investor when you take proper shape. So we go to banks, we tell them, hey, you don't know VC, I know VC, give me like 10 million, 15 million to invest, I will give you so much return to you, right? And that's how. So we take money from different people, very high net worth individual, take money, make a fund, and the fund has a mandate. The mandate would be, I want to invest in early stage startup companies who are based out of India, are operating in US, in SaaS world, right? Because that's been my experience, I've done that. And we'll invest money in them, and this is the kind of return you expect, right? So when we take the money, we invest in startup, we help them grow through it. Once then finally we also exit the startup, get our money back, pay the investor money back, and then make money, whatever balance is there comes to us. So that's how venture capital world. So it's basically, very high level. There is demand. There are a lot of innovative companies who need money. They lack history, financial history. So bank would not give them debt or business loans, and therefore, instead, venture capitalists and angels come. That because we have been in the industry, we kind of think this can make sense. They put in money, they take the risk, and instead of debt they put equity into it. They buy shares from them, right? And then when the value of share increases, they sell the share and make money.
So, sir, just want to have one last question in this as in VC segment. How was the VC is in India as compared to outside the India? Like how they work? They will have simple way, or they have different mind of.
No, very, very, very different. I so if you look, I would probably say, there are US VCs, there are European VCs, and there's the Asian VCs. Like Singapore, I have a lot of worked with a lot of Singapore and Indian VCs as well. And the US VCs have a maximum risk appetite. They can really, if they like you, even if they don't like the idea, if they like the entrepreneur and they feel like, nay, he has the he has the experience or he has the resilience, he's not going to give up, they're going to put money. So very high risk appetite. If you look at European VCs, they play a little safe. They also have risk appetite, but not in India. VCs have very low risk appetite. Early, without even having a product, they are not going to fund you, while we have funded like that, right? That we know the track record of the entrepreneur in India. Until you have made the product and have some traction, practically you will never get any institutional investment. But also the reason for that is, I think there are so many companies in India, right, and very limited number of VC fund. So they do have the option to choose the best. So in India, while people VCs do invest, like get equity or shares, but they invest more like bankers do, right? So yeah, that's the difference in India and US or a European VC. The risk appetite across is very different.
I hope this answer which you have given it helps our audience to think in that way to how to get the money from the VCs. So now let's talk about your entrepreneur journey and talk about the Alore Growth OS. Before we doing that, just want to know what was the your hurdles which came when you were establishing this company in India, or and how you able to. I hope your VC experience helped you in that way to get more you can say attention towards your company and your product. All the products are main key in the market. If you have good product, you will get more customers and more people will going to look at that product. So just want to check, hope your VC experience or your past experience helped you in this journey right now.
No, I mean, The VC experience just opened some initial doors for me, right? In that, the first round of investment we made, we got, like, it was because of my credential as a VC, right? But that's where it stopped, right? Because as a VC, you have more strategic insight into how things can work. But and I would, I think if I now become a VC, I'll be a very different VC in that I would sometimes, sit with, we had our chat with our investee company's founder or CEO, and I would wonder why can't they do it, right? And now when I run a company, then I know, like, I also have tens of ideas, and sometimes I'm not be able to execute it or well. Sometimes can't just execute that. Sometimes execute it, but not really well, right? Sometimes started executing, became something else, never got the result either, right? So I think the mm, what I learned in all of this is that, people focus too much on product. If you and I've seen that, if you have a good distribution channel, if you can go to your customer, if you can get FaceTime in front of your customer, you'll still make money, right? Even with a half decent product.
Yes.
But there's so much of product differentiation. Do this, do that. How are you different from? I wouldn't care. If you have half decent product, but distribution well, if you know SEO, if like, because I'm from SaaS world, so if you know cold emailing, if you know SEO, if you know social media marketing, and you can get your eyeballs, you will make money. Yeah, people are like, if you get in front of people and slowly keep improving your sales pitch, you will. But if you have a great product and you don't know anything of all this, how to distribute your product, you'll never make money. So,
Yes, yes.
there's a lot is that is talked, like, or the presentation. I mean, if you have done MBA, it's like, product differentiation, key features, all of that. I don't really think features make a company better. But yeah, the first thing, you should focus on distribution, and then also start looking, what is your product changing in the workflow. Never talk in terms of feature. Like when I had to differentiate before, I would say, product A has 10 feature, I have 15 features. Probably five features are extra, which the customer might not ever need it, right? But I had to differentiate. So I added those features there. So that's another thing, that sometimes you can have less feature, right? uh, but you can solve more problems, more workflow
Yeah.
problems, right? In the end, anyone buys a tool or a product or a service, just to make the workflow better, right? Imagine WhatsApp became so big, right? What was the reason? There was a workflow for people to send message, right? There was sequence of events they were doing. You had 140 characters. If you wanted to write a long mail, you couldn't, long message, you couldn't do that, right? So there would be 10 message for like one paragraph, right? That's one. You have to spend 50 paisa per message, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's not completely right. And they, like there would be 10 SMS together, never like a thread, or never, they wouldn't couple it together, right? There is no continuity there, right? You couldn't send images, or those, you couldn't send voice note, all of it. And that's the different, because then if you have to send image, you have to mail them, right? Always, if you have to call them, you have to use a phone call. If you're, or Skype if you're outside India, right? So you have to use three different product to do the same set of thing that WhatsApp does in one product, right? So solved,
Mhm.
made it so easy. Otherwise, I had to have three account, right? Three history of what I have sent, all of that, right? Even if you're talking to your family, right? You couldn't have a group chat because SMS never. You want your family to be together. So I'm talking to Ayu, I'm talking to Akshay, I'm talking to Ayush, I'm talking to, let's say, Kirti, right? Three people to coordinate a meeting. Let's say, let's meet today evening, right? So I'm coordinating between three people, and that now I
Mhm.
can do together, right? So the workflow makes it easy, right? So solve,
Yes.
even though the feature set are same, right? A Gmail can send you emails and images. Skype can help you call, and SMS can make you text, right? But it never differentiated itself in, the initial WhatsApp, which was just plain text, right? Not even images. If you would look at feature differentiation, it was same, right? It was just that the workflow was much better there, right?
Even I believe I have experience in sales, selling a right product to solving the right problem at the right time. This is what I believe. And the reason right now, if you can see, people are more focusing on the email messaging and selling, getting the high tickets volume sales in a short span of time. So before we go further on this talk, let's talk about. I hope you saw the TVF play card, that picture on
Ah,
YouTube.
the version 1 or 2, like Aussie
Version
version.
one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So hope that makes your mind, because I believe that after seeing that web series, people started to think, okay, let me try to become an entrepreneur. Hope that also influenced you in that way. Just wanted to check.
No, not really. I mean, I think it was. I frankly, I remember when I used to sit with my brother-in-law Kishore. We spent a lot of time together, and he would always say that, because you have you're much in Navy, you have enough saving. Why don't you become? I was like, why do I need to take so much stress, right? Um, because I think that the let's say the horizon that I was looking was, again, like, was like, coming from the limited exposure you had, right? And on ship, because without those days, in those days, there would be hardly any communication. So whatever you were at 19, as the amount of exposure you had to the outside world, you practically were the same at 26 as well. The only thing you have added is became a better, ship worker, but your frameworks, your thought process, your philosophy all remained the same, right? And I remember I just wanted to take an extra longer break, and I started reading some book, and I read a book, Dhando Investor. It's by Mohnish Pabrai, who used to be Warren Buffett's the right hand man, right? And he talked about how people with less amount of money, and this talked a lot about the good Jews who made mortals in US, right? And how with a very small amount of money, but still being enterprising, still running their life, taking lesser risk, they still created an empire. And that is when I started thinking, right, that I don't need to be so, because I was very risk averse before, with career, right? I was very, very risk averse. I didn't want to do anything odd out of it, right? So when I read that, then I was like, oh, there are alternate ways of doing it safely as well. I mean, didn't turn out so well for me either. I mean, I had to go through ups and downs. Nobody tells you every day details or every hour details of it. But I was influenced by that. And my early, so when we started the shipping service company, it was, we started in 2006-7, right? So uh, at that time, if someone started a business, it's because he couldn't work, he couldn't find a job, right? So but I like telling the story, that it's not like I don't have a job, it's just that I want to try something new. And I've, early, when you're 25, 26, you also have a lot of confidence, not fake one, real one, but
Yes.
probably a little bit overconfident. So I knew I also had the backup that if I don't do well for a year or two, I can always go to merchant navy, because in merchant navy people do take 1-2 years of sabbatical sometimes. So I was like,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to invest, and it frankly worked well for us. And I mean, Marine Solution even today now is doing really great. It's what, like, been 14, 15 years company, and then therefore I thought that, yeah, I can do it. And more than me, I think I had a bunch of friend, some MBA friend, Enrique, Kike, and Jose, and who felt like I am supposed to be like the way I think and behave. I am supposed to be an entrepreneur, and they kind of, like, whitewashed my brain into believing I can be an entrepreneur. But yeah, it also came in, like, I wanted to do a few things, and if you look from that angle, that I had the VC experience. I also had a earlier experience of running my own company for 2 years. I also learned internet, hobby code is so all three together. I could understand how IT or how SaaS product work, or what is the UI, UX, all of that. So all of that together. Therefore, I came in, but there was it was never because the sex appeal of being an entrepreneur, being a founder. I think if I look back, I think it's one of the unsexiest job, because people feel you have so much of authority and control, but you are as an entrepreneur, what you are is because of the people that you have, right? You have idea, you brought it to a certain level, and if your people make it big. And it's not like you become Hitler or total Nazi to actually control. You have to take input, and sometimes even keep shut, because you want your people to make mistakes so that they do better next time, right? So not that completely never thought from that angle. Like more, it opportunity came, and I said I'm going to give my best shot and see what happens.
Now let's talk about Alore Growth. So what is
Mhm.
Alore Growth and how this Alore Growth is changing the market in India and outside the India, and how this company helping the all the, you can say, small startups company in India in terms of generating a business, and what is the future of it?
Yeah. So, Akshay, the thing is, you've done sales, right? So, what Alore does, it helps B2B companies, businesses who work with more businesses, um, help them do keeping the top of the funnel filled, right? So, if you have tools that enable that, you have an email warmer, if you look at it, there are only few ways in B2B segment that you can generate leads, right? Online specifically. So you could do cold calling, right? You could do cold emailing. You could do cold LinkedIn messaging, right? These are the three. And there are offline channels, of course. You can do door to door. You can knock the doors of company. You can go to conferences and all. So these are five, six, right? SEO becomes very tough space because you have old players there already. So it takes a longer while to get the traction through SEO. Paid channel, of course, is there again, but paid, very expensive, because for the same keyword, multiple people are, well-funded company, old company, like, let's say we are in, CRM's outbound stack space. I mean, HubSpot is also there. There's Lemlist also there, which is a new company. There's HubSpot as well. There's Salesforce as well. There's Freshdesk as well, fighting for the same set of customers. So the per click or per paid ad is like super expensive, right? Not happening to B2B companies. So early stage company can't really put so much money. The only way then comes to is you doing outbound. Inbound, paid advertising is not going to work for you. So in outbound, there's cold calling, there's cold emailing, and cold LinkedIn message. These are the three ways you can generate lead. Now, cold calling is not scalable, right? Because cold caller, there's a lot that depends on the cold caller, and he can maximum do reach out is like 40 people a day, maximum 40 calls a day, right? And you might have one good caller, but you can't have 20 good cold callers in your team, right? So it becomes it's not very scalable. You have to invest a lot of money in training, hiring, firing, training, hiring, firing again, right? That's one. And the thing with cold emailing, what is on the opposite side is that in cold emailing, you own the domain, right? It's your domain. So if you send more mails, nobody is going to ask you more money. Right? If you want to
Yes.
reach out to 1 million people, if you have the database, go do it. Nobody is going to say, like, for 10,000 people, I'm going to charge you 100,000. No. As long as you have database, you can do, and you can hit them twice a day, 5 times a day, whatever the best practices are. Right? That's only with emailing, right? If you go to Facebook and I want to say, like, reach out to 1 million people, it's going to charge you very different than if you want to charge 10,000. It's going to make minimum amount of money, and that money keeps on increasing day on day and day on day, right? The more niche you become, what the average cost per click was in 2018 is no more in 2023, right? So you and they will never tell you which are the person who clicked. They might tell you these are the people who signed up, right? But they'll charge you for the people who have clicked on it, right? They'll charge
Yes,
you for
yes,
that.
that's true.
Yeah. So it's also cold emailing becomes very economically feasible, therefore, right? It's a channel you definitely need to have it. You own that channel, you own that database. Facebook doesn't own that database. So if you create, you build that database, that is a bunch of customers waiting for you. That database is that. So that's second. Third is that unlike cold calls, it's scalable, right? If a mail works for one person, it might work for 10 more, right? And I don't need 100 people to write. If I send 100, let's say 1,000 mail with one person, I'll still need only one person to send to 10,000 people or 100,000 people or 1 million people, right? I don't need many more. ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरे को 40 people or So the more you increase, actually the efficiency becomes better, right? So that's also, so it's scalable, it's economically more viable, right? And the third one, so therefore I did most of my things in life I have done with cold email. My job in VC, right? Cold email. My first client at Marine Solution, cold email. My first, VC investment, cold email. um, my first client for most of the companies that I work for, cold email. So I really believed in power of cold email. I feel that if you hit the right person at the right time with the right message, they reply. If it makes sense for them. So now this is the whole concept. Use email and databases to actually reach out to people, automate it, give them analytic, make their life easy, right? Automate stuff, right? This is what we do and help people generate.
I have two questions on this, sir. First, before we going forward in advanced questions, I'm going to be asked. First question is that what is CRM for the just for our audience? Just wanted to know who is watching from the tier two and tier three city of our India, so they can understand it.
So yeah, CRMs are different kinds, right? CRM is basically is like, how do you manage your customers, right? That's like, it's a place, like, imagine it's a product that helps you manage your potential customers or potential. It's a management platform, right? Just like you have a phone book for yourself where you put your contacts, a business also has, and they have multiple thousands of customers, right? So they need to maintain a proper, so it's, imagine it's like a phone book. And these days, like, how phone book has more stuff, right? If you look at
Mm-hmm.
your, it'll
Yes.
have when did you last call, when did you last message, it will pull image, you can add email addresses, everything. So what you have on phone book, that's the CRM, right? And CRMs can be of different kind. It can be marketing, it can be pre-sales, it can be sales, it can be post-sales, right? So marketing CRM is where you just put people who have come to your website, or where you want to do awareness. They haven't bought the product, but they might be willing to make, right, you want. So the frequency of is not right. The trigger is very different, or the event that will happen on a marketing CRM will happen very different than a post sale. Now in a post sale CRM, what you have is, list of people who have bought stuff, right? And their whole history, what did they buy, when it was delivered, what was the rating, all of that, right? So the feature set, or the, let's say, the data points you manage is very different there. In a post sales CRM, you have a very trigger need based communication, right? When you buy, I will send you a mail. If you want to, if you have not, if the customer, if the product hasn't reached you, then you mail me, right? Then I'm going to
Yes. Yes.
respond. So the workflow is different. In marketing CRM is very different. It's like weekly once, when you have best way, you want to educate the customer. It's more one-sided communication. In a post-sales CRM, it's a two-side communication, right? Same way in sales CRM, there's two side. Even in pre-sales that we have pre-sales CRM, which does more outbound, right? I am,
Mm-hmm.
as a company, reaching out. So it helps you maintain that, when did you reach out? What did the person do? Did he read it? Did he open the email, right? Did he reply to the email? How many people, right? Similar kinds are there. So all that you can do with a CRM.
Let's talk about the small businessman, you can say MSME, in different parts of city outside the metro cities. Suppose, for example, a person having a handicraft of business, and he
Hmm.
wanted to sell this and wanted to increase his sale and connect to all the people, all the different customers across the India. So how the Allure will going to help them in this way? Second, how if a person want to buy your platform, then how will the setup will happen and how they will help, how it going to make the operation work smoothly.
Okay, sure. So, like I said, email is a primary. So, and we help. There's two things to consider. One is we use email as a channel. The second is we can help only businesses that want to reach out to businesses, right? Example, you work that, Akshay, you work, and the way you maintain your email, work email, is very different than the way you maintain your gmail.com, right? Very different. So
Yes.
for decision maker at a company, right? Any decision maker at a company, his email is his lifesaver, right? So maintains very differently if you reach out to them, because he resides there, right? If you look at it, all the medium of advertisement or lead generation is where people reside. Newspaper, why do people advertise in newspaper? Because people read, they reside every morning is where? On newspaper. News channel, why do people advertise there? Is because every evening they're sitting, they're spending time with that. Facebook, why it is there? Because every, when you're traveling, morning, evening, advertising there. WhatsApp also now doing advertisement, right? So where people spend time, you have to be there, right? It's like old days, jaise chaurahe chapa nahi rehta tha pehle. I'm sorry, I moved to Hindi, but chaura, like you would have small shops in villages where people would come and meet in the evening, right? Same way, you have to, as a business, you have to think, where are your customers sitting? In
Hmm.
B2B companies, mostly they spend, as a CEO, we just like 50, 60 people size company. I imagine my maximum days spent on actually on my emails, right? People, my customer, my investors, my employees, all of them communicate by email, right? So this is important. Like, I congregate there, all the decision makers manage it. So if you reach out there, there is high chances of people responding, right? So any B2B company, they can do this, right? Any B2B companies, they want to reach out to, in decision makers of the prospect, of their clients, they can reach out to them and have a conversation. How does it work? Let's say, as a B2B, we often say that my product, when you have a product or service in mind, you also have in mind who would be the ideal buyer, right? So let's say I'm selling, like for us, our ideal customers are, let's say 11 to 50 or 50 to 200 size people company based out of India, doing in IT sector, IT services, or SaaS company, or marketing agencies, right? Or HR tech companies, or HR services company, right? This is my, so let's say decision makers are CEO, because CEOs are involved in the revenue growth of early stage company. So we'll go to LinkedIn. From LinkedIn, we'll do the filtering, right? LinkedIn is the best database in the world. It has all the details. So you can go to LinkedIn and say, give me a list of people in Bangalore, 11 to 50 size company, CEO. So LinkedIn gives the list. We have a tool that works on that and fetches the email addresses. So now I have email address, right? From there. On tool, you upload that, right? And if you write good, very important to write the right messaging. If you send the right email, then what will happen is mail one, what we do, we automate it. So the other principle to know here, Akshay, is that it takes anyone at least 5 touch point to remember you. 5 touch point means
Yes.
5 times you have to meet, talk, exchange messages. Example, if you go to, recently India Pakistan match hua tha, you must have seen that, right? If you have an ad, it doesn't come once and then disappears, right? The same ad will be repeated to you again and again, so that you have a higher recall factor. So same way, you don't send one email in cold emailing. You say send at least 5 emails, right? So you have mail one going, we wait for one day, then mail two goes, wait for one day again, then mail three goes, wait for one day again, mail four goes, right? All that. After five, we'll stop, or if the person replies, we'll stop, automated. But this automating, imagine if you want to reach to 2,000 people a day, right? You have if you were to do it manually, it is very impossible for you, right? You have to send
Yes.
2,000 today, and some will apply, some then you have to remove it from your database or CRM software. Then remember who has not replied, who has opened, very difficult manual work. So instead, all of this is done in an automated way. You just upload the list once, you just write the mail once, and then we do everything. We will send it, and you can choose the time. I want to send 8 in the morning. So example, a CEO of a company, normally by Sunday evening he starts working, right? Planning his next week. But you reach out to him on a Monday morning, most probably he's not going to reply. So you can choose what time of the day. So you can choose the volume of the emails that you want to send. You can choose the day and the time when you want to send, and you can choose the frequency that you want to reach out. You can choose how many emails that you have to send out. Sometimes you can even, like, if you want and your funnel is good, you can even choose the trigger event. If he clicks on the one of the link of mail one, send him, or let's say, a download coupon, or like a free ebook, anything. So you can do all of this. So this is all automated. The end result of all this is, like, if you have a product that the potential buyer might be interested, you get a, like a, FaceTime in front of him, as in reading time. He reads your mail. If he gets excited, he will get on a call with you. right? So now you have a lead, someone who's interested, and you can then sell him, meet him in person or do a Zoom call, and your sales process starts. And so the top of the funnel, which is arranging meetings, you can do it through Alore.
So also I want some add some points in this. First, what I believe that if you reach 1,000 people, in which only 100 people responds to you, and in that only 50% has given the confirmation, at least you got the profit in
Correct.
that. Second, in that it will easy the, as a businessman to handle all the database in a very simple way. Third, we have India has many more festivals was going on. We have lots of we are blessed. We can say we are happy that we have lots of festival in India. So from that also you can reach to the customer in a very simple way, right?
Correct.
I have one question in this, sir. Does Allure have a module to help the new businessman to set up a one fresh, good, you can say great communicated email? Because, for example, I'm going to connect with you. You don't know me, I don't know you. The way only connect is through email only. So whatever content I'm going to write in a professional way, that going to be attractive, right?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely the email holds the content holds a lot of value. So we have two, actually we have three models in which we work. The first one is do
Great.
it yourself. So if you know everything and you're just looking for consolidated tool or like more affordable tool, you use a platform and run it, right? The second, we have a build train transfer module in which it's like a layer above the a layer above the platform of, so platform is there and we add a managed services layer. So
Mhm.
we'll come, we have bunch of people who can write good content, people who understand strategy. They will run the first 3 months of your program, ensure that you get meeting, and then hand it over like train. So we build the process for you, then we'll train your team and then transfer to you. So we do it all end to end, right? So that then you can execute it themselves, right? This is for companies that are little big in size and some free resources. There are also a lot of entrepreneurs or early stage, 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 size company or even up to 50, who just want to focus on sales, right, and on customer service, right? In that case, we have a done for you program. So this is the third program in which we become extended pre-sales team. We have bunch of dedicated resources, shared dedicated resources, and they'll keep running the whole program using our own tool, and they will help you fix the meeting. They'll put it on the calendar. So we have all three ways. We have way one, if you can just use a tool. Way two, if you want to have cold emailing or emailing as outbound emails as a channel, then we'll set it up and hand it over to you. Or third way, if you don't have resources, just want us to run, then we can run that as well. So three models.
So now, so we have a one segment called "Be Frank, Be Open." So it's a segment where we'll ask some like myth question from our guests related to their industry. So if you're
Uh-huh.
open, if you're okay, you can please answer those questions so that
Yeah, yeah.
our customer, you can say our audience can see and understand the answer in a very simple way. So if you're okay, can we start?
Sure, please.
So now I have first question. I list down some question which I have got from internet regarding the CRM. So first thing is that bad database will kill the CRM or not?
Bad database will not kill the CRM, but it'll of course kill your process. There'll be a lot of shitty data, and you'll spend more time and more money in reaching out or trying to. So a good database is like having good set of people in your life, right? You don't want to
Hmm.
talk to strangers in your bad times, right? So you want to talk to your good friends, right? So I think yes, definitely bad database is very bad for your overall performance of your company.
Okay. Now I have second question, sir. We do not need CRM if we do not have a sales team within the company. If
No, you
we
would, as long as you have your customer, like if you don't have sales team and you also don't have customers, that's fine. But if you have customer, you definitely should have, because you still need to know who are the set of people who visited your, maybe they are buying do it yourself buying, but you need to know who visited. It's like people are knocking on your door, but you don't want to maintain a record. You're like, I'm very happy because some of the people are coming in. You should always have a good set of CRM. Your CRM becomes your asset. It's a gold mine of data for you. You can't let it go.
Okay. I have two questions. One question is that a small company or like a very small company, do they need a CRM or not?
Well, I mean, initial days, even a Google Sheet can be a CRM for you for a while, right? But you need to maintain record, right? Maintaining record is important. Whether you want a SaaS tool or, yeah, later on you can, but you should maintain, a Google Sheet or Excel sheet is a good database, like decent database. It's not a bad CRM, right? If you do it in a structured way, if you have thought about it. So if
Yes,
you
sir.
want to save money, fine. You can use Google Sheets with few automation and like multiple sheets and formulas and all. But you should definitely have a database of all, just like our experiences are very important from day one of our life. We retain all good and bad experiences. Same way, you have to maintain all set of visitors or like or good people or good customer or bad customer, everything in your database. You should definitely have it.
So one last question of this segment. Customer service is the focus of CRM system. Is customer service is the focus of the
Not only,
CRM.
like I said, yeah, if it's a post-sales CRM, yes, customer service is there. But if it's a marketing CRM, awareness is a focus. If it's a pre-sales, meeting is a focus. If it's a sales CRM, then closing is a function, right? How do you efficiently manage which stage of customer journey, lifetime journey it is? So based on where you are, like someone like a Mintra or a e-commerce site like Amazon, the post sales CRM is very important, right? Because once people have sold, there is buying and receiving and then getting input on that defines the experience, right, for a e-commerce site. But that wouldn't be like like for a, let's say, a consulting company. It's not a big stuff because they would probably have like 50 100 customers and they can do that mapping on a Google Sheet as well, right? So it depends on what the focus is.
Now we have finished our segment called Be Frank, Be Open. Now let's talk about the future, sir. So do you think what's your? I just want to ask, what's your thought on AI, artificial intelligence?
I think it's amazing stuff. I mean, every 10 years there is one technology that comes which disrupts stuff. I remember in my lifetime it started with Google and therefore SEO, right? Google changed the search engine, changed the way companies used to promote themselves, right, or advertise, right? And I've seen a lot of early stage SaaS, SaaSy products, 2005 to 7 and beyond, who were made based on just SEO because they knew SEO how it works. They made tons of impact and money, right? Because they knew one new channel. Same way, then social media happened, and a lot of influencers and all are made right out of their social media, and they kind of control narrative of a lot of people, millions of people. I think AI is definitely the future. I use personally myself a lot. It has helped us prune our team as well, shorten it, make it smaller, more efficient. A lot of things that let's say if you couldn't write great mails, right? A persuasive mail, which would take more time. Like, if you give the right prompt to the, OpenAI, ChatGPT, it's gonna do work really fast. It's gonna make you really productive, right? I think AI is gonna be if you know how to this, like how if you knew how to use SEO, you could have made money and may become more productive there at that time. I think in 2023, 15, 20 years later, it's OpenAI, right, and ChatGPT and all these large language models will help you become so much more efficient, and that definitely will become a competitive advantage for you. It's going to change a lot of stuff how things work.
Great, great. So is CRM is against the AI or AI will help the CRM to
No,
enhance
like
their?
again, CRM can do a lot of stuff. AI can do a lot of stuff that I had to put a human to do it, right? And while they were doing it, it was very mechanical, it was very clerical way of doing, right? Analyze the data and tell me what segment of customers have been responding best, right? Let's say this is a problem statement. So you would go into the CRM, slice and dice, and maybe I missed out. Now, for this, you don't need a human anymore. You will just tell it to OpenAI and it's going to do it for you. And then you can spend more time on strategizing. While it might kill a few jobs or make you redundant there, but it also opens up room for people to make better decision making, faster decision making, more execution time, less clerical work, right? So yeah, the OpenAI, sorry, like AI will make almost every software, not just CRM, but every software so much more smarter, much closer to the human cognitive abilities.
I was just going through the Dr. Jai Shankar is a foreign minister of India of our country. I just watching his videos. It's whatever, and he goes into all the. He went to the podcast with ANI. He has done some interviews in the colleges also in the with New Channel also. He's talking about after he's talking about the future is India, and he's saying in the indirectly way, if you have money, try to develop your own business because future is India. So how you think that after G20, just recently we have done the G20 in India, so how you think that this G20 will help the in India to increase the economy, and Alore will be a part of that journey to help India to grow more in terms of getting more revenue. So what's your thought on that?
See, definitely. I mean, having all these are, when any country to grow needs money, right? And that money will only come when bigger companies or bigger economy actually, of course, they come for their better returns. That if they put 1 billion in India, or they open a factory in India, it will be cheaper for them, right? But while they invest that money, India grows, people get employment, right? So all these these such kind of let's say multi-country events, you know establishes a lot about India. It also opens up door for collaboration, right? It's just like, you know, because everyone is so busy. Sometimes we as, founders, entrepreneurs or business, or even just colleagues, employees, sometimes we meet other people from other functions, suddenly discover we can do something new, right? Same way when these global leaders who set the very high level policy frameworks and all, when they meet, they will get newer ideas. Because in the end, with the help of right government policies and intervention, you can make all these facilitate a lot of investment into your country, right? Give tax breaks, or lesser tax and all of that. In the end, only when money comes, to make money out of hard work is possible, but only to a certain level. After that, money makes more money. And for India to grow, whether through infrastructure or new, you definitely need all these foreign companies to come to India and invest, and that increases the employment abilities of Indian, like how many of them can be employed. When that happens, they get money. When they get money, they live a better lifestyle. Their children go to school, and that's a long cycle that starts. But in a few tens of decades, you have suddenly, the growth will be like a lot. So yeah, I think G20s are great. Like, you have to build that. In the end, as a human, we have biases, right? People who look good, sometimes who are dressed well, not look good, but people who are dressed well, when you see them, there is a natural affinity or a little bit of, and people who are dressed shabbily, right? Same way a country that hosts such event gets does a lot of things, people start looking at them very differently. It does matter. And then now it depends on how government takes all the policies and framework, or what a kind of negotiation. In the end, both of the parties should make money. So yeah, G20 are great. I think yes, India definitely will be for next 20-30 years. A lot of things will happen in India. Already is happening. We in our lifetime. I mean, I have seen when I used to go to my village in north of Bihar, very close to Nepal border. I mean, there used to be no roads. Like, it was mud, right? There was no pitch road, Joe, what we used to say, like from there. And we didn't have a water line or a gas line or electricity line. I remember we used to use those chapakal, right, to take water and, drink water from there, no filtered, like just groundwater, drinking that, right? From that to having, 24 hours electricity, great road, access to education, and all this, when all these things happen, they create more opportunities and employment, right? Now those people
True,
have
true.
willingness, yeah, well, willingness to buy stuff, and that money, when they spend, it will make, the company spend more money in product and innovation and growth, and then that goes back to them again. So it's a good cycle, I think. Yeah, next few, I hope, like India continues to grow as fast and as much as we have been growing last 20 years. I think there is no doubt that we'll grow in next 20 years. Is it that can we make it 100 years of growth, similar growth? That should be a bigger question.
Yes, sir. So, and I believe that after government has given started lots of initiative, and lots of MSMEs companies are coming up, and I believe that Alore will going to be helped to grow their business in
Yes,
different ways. That's what I
yes,
believe.
sure.
Now, you have done lots of business in past also before starting this company Alore. So, want to check how you what was the problems were you were facing while hiring the employees in that time? Because right nowadays people are getting more courses from online, like education from online to get the skills. Because recently I did one podcast with Mr. Raghavan Nilakantan. He's the president of Lucas Services Limited, which is part of TVS Lucas. So he was saying in that in our episode that he was talking about that people, we have a people but we don't have the skilled people. So they have taken the degree courses, but they don't have that much skill. So we need to train that the skill so that they can work in a good way in the factories or in the company. So how what you think that right now you're still facing the same problem getting a skilled people right nowadays in the market?
Yeah, I think that's a challenge. I think the biggest challenge that a growing company face, especially who have made early money, right, or cash flow is the talent, right? Like I said, people make you, the founder probably has an idea and takes it from 0 to 1, but our 1 to 100 is your people who will take it, right? And, I do feel like not just the very few people I have met, right? Let's say I we have a job for, let's say, opening for a email writer, copywriter. Like very few people you'll find who actually have done. They have a lot of knowledge about small things, but they don't have one specific knowledge, right? That definitely the depth, the width of the knowledge, I think, of people has increased a lot, but the depth of the knowledge has decreased as well with that.
So, sir, just last question before we winding up this session. What piece of advice you want to give to our youth, and in terms of what piece of pathway you want to give if the person want to enhance their skill whatsoever they have a skills they wanted to get mastered on that. So, what pathway or what piece of advice you want to give to our young youth in India?
I think, what I would tell, next set of people, next generation, is that, that knowledge should not always be need based. Knowledge acquisition should not always be need based, because that is a reactive step, right? Let's say 2 years from now, if you start learning AI, or the impact of AI, or what is prompt engineering, you're already losing the race, right? Not, let's say, not, you're not, race is a wrong word, but you're losing a very good opportunity for you, right? So need based knowledge acquisition is not favorable in long term. Well, it's not bad. Some people don't want to, if they're getting salary, is having, 8 hours of job, like, great. But if you have ambition, right, stop being lazy, right, and start investing time in knowledge acquisition consistently, right? Different people learn in different mode. I cannot learn from video read. I tried Udemy and all of that, but I couldn't acquire, because I tend to have better focus reading book. or even if I have blog, I print it and read it, right? But investing in knowledge is, as human, the only reason we are ruling the world, right, and not a tiger is much, or a lion, is because we have better cognitive abilities, right? Better decision making, better knowledge management. I think we have to keep using that, and that can only be honed when you do it on a regular basis, right? So if you want to expect, if you expect to do well in life, it won't happen because of miracle. It'll happen because you every day we're doing, just pick up, read 20 minutes. Like most of people, most of the I see a lot of our employees, like, they study until high school or college, and then after that they don't want to study, right? The, the funny thing of life is these are the 40 years where you learn, after 20 to 60 is where you learn the maximum, because now you're executing stuff, right? You're managing relationship, you're managing, with your colleagues, employees, senior, junior, right? Until now, from zero to, from 5 years to 18 years or 23, 22 years, you were just learning the ABCDs of life, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
people stop. They just execute and they sit. They execute and sit. They never contemplate. They never go back and say, how do I, mind is a complex thing to, everyday life needs your mind to be in good shape, right? And, if to write prompt for OpenAI or ChatGPT, people learn courses, pay a lot of money. But how to manage your mind and knowledge, there's no manual for it, and people never pay for it. And the only way you can learn is by investing time daily, 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 and you'll really do good. So I mean, sorry, very philosophical answer, but I think I would recommend people, like, general youth, that don't make, never stop learning. Like, college doesn't mean you have to stop learning. And, learning is not always from listening to people. You have to read, you have to think, apply, and then go it, right? So don't have
Yes.
knowledge, need based learning, knowledge acquisition. And yeah, like always, yeah, always try to keep learning.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving us such a beautiful answer to this question, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you watched the full video and I believe you like this video. And if you like it, I request you to please share this video to all your family and friends. And those who are newcomers, they're going to start their own business, might be this video is for you. And also for salespeople who are working from different industry and they wanted to increase their revenue in a very short span of time, might be this video is for you. So request you to please share this video to all your friends, business owners, family, everyone, so that they can see and they can learn and then they should know what is the future right now in India. Till then, stay tuned, stay healthy. We'll be come back soon.